Alrighty, guys, we are back. League of Inches is back after having good old Dane off the bench a few weeks back. We've actually pulled a few strings, and I've actually got both of them in at once. So we've got Sid and Dane back, which is first for League of Inches. We're stepping up, going in a new direction with the Threeway. So hopefully a lot of the viewers enjoy what we're about to talk about for over the next few minutes and stuff, and go with that. But first off, obviously, you want to start off with the hats off. Don't have a hat, but here we go. The hats off. So I'm going to talk about a couple of the big men over the weekend, which obviously everyone who watched the games on the weekend obviously seen papali's effort, and to a lesser extent, it wasn't as talked about, but I thought Hess's efforts as well against the Knights. He made a couple of pretty good chases as well. So from what I thought, watching some big men make some really big efforts and effort plays, which seems to go away from things these days. And I thought it was pretty big to see. And I'll bring in here, obviously, Sid and Dane. And Sid, how do you think the weekend and papali and to a lesser extent, I guess, Hess, but obviously papali's ankle tap was pretty impressive on a much smaller, faster guy.
Yeah, that was it was good. Good effort.
By the way, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks, man. Reminds me of when Frizzell did it in Origin. He ran down the winger. That was it was Dane Gagai.
Yeah.
And and going further back, Scott Sattler famously ran down the Roosters winger in the Premiership, the Panthers win, grand final win. That's good stuff, man. Look, what I thought with Fogarty, he, obviously like a lot of little blokes, he has the quick speed over the 30, 40 metres.
Yeah.
But doesn't have the stride. And there was a point in which, and you'd know probably more than me about this because you're a sprinter, he needed to change his angle and he did it. And he sort of like ended up digging a hole in the ground, and not to take anything away from papali, because papali didn't give up. He was waiting for that, If he, say, made a beeline for the right corner, papali wouldn't have caught him, but it was just a lack of experience of a long-distance run on the part of Fogarty. But, full credit, man, the big man.
100%. What was your take on it, Danos? Loving the big men's efforts. I know you're a big man yourself. And welcome back for round two.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, no, I think it was a pretty good chase, to be honest. Running down a pretty quick guy and what have you. I mean, these front rowers and second rowers and some of these big men, they can put on a bit of speed. They just don't really get the opportunity to do it. And I think he dug deep and mowed him down. And I think Sid's right. He changed direction a little bit. He might not have got him, but the guy that had the ball, I don't know who it was, but he's no Joel Johnston, so couldn't put him off. But it was a fair effort. I didn't see the Hess one, but saw papali, and I think it just goes to show that these big men can run as well.
Yeah, the Hess one was more so. He actually did it a couple of times. He just more so with his effort plays. He just seems to be the guy that was there at the right time of when normally I was a bit critical of him at the start of the year. I think a lot of people were. He was a bit lazy. He seems to have stepped up again, and he used to be one of the form second rows of the comp. So hopefully he's starting to find that form back. But we'll get straight into it. We'll get back into our first tackle, and something that I've sort of pointed out the last couple of weeks watching, and a question I'll ask you boys to answer first before I say anything. But the days of the small winger, are they over and done with? I say with people like Corey Thompson and obviously Nick Meaney as well. I'm seeing some younger guys where obviously a little bit of liability to the high balls and getting the sets rolling off, which we've seen is much important to this day and age, starting your sets off. But what are you boys thinking with the small winger? I think the last good small winger was probably Luke Burt or Matt Utai. What are your thoughts on this one, Sid?
Yeah, the last ones I was thinking of as well when you mentioned Luke Burt was probably Hazem El Masri.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you're going to be really small, you need to have one outstanding attribute. So blistering speed, for example, like Dufty, I know he's a fullback, obviously. Yeah. But rugby league is a giant's game. It's a big man's game these days, So I agree, and I'll extend that theory to centres as well. You know, the smaller centres just can't cut it. I mean, even Jared Croker, it's just amazing. He's probably one of the last ones that could do it. But you do see quite regularly even when he makes a tackle, he gets carried every time. You know, to go for 3/4 these days is, you know, minimum 6'3", 6'4", rangy, long stride, big fan, that sort of thing. You know.
Yeah, exactly right. What about you, Dane? What was your thoughts on these small men, and do you see them in the game for much longer?
Yeah, look, I think the centres and wingers, you know, the wingers almost need to be the same size as the centres. I think, you know, around that 95, 100 kg mark. I mean, even thinking back, I think it was Brett Hodgson used to play for the Tigers.
Yeah, the fullback.
Fullback, but like even touching on smaller guys, like look at Pappenhausen. He's got to put some size on. Like they get thrown around like a rag doll. Really, they can only run those holes and you know, break through holes. Really, otherwise, yeah, they don't have the size. So easily taken over the sideline. But yeah, look, I think the dieting and, you know, the weights training and everything else. I think a lot of these guys they're going to continue to get bigger and bigger before they sort of, you know, hit first grade. But yeah, I think the smaller guys, I think it's going to be a thing of the past very, very soon. And I just don't see them being as competitive as some of the big guys.
Yeah, exactly right. I think actually the biggest thing is their set restarts. And I was watching the Dogs game, and it just didn't seem like Meaney was denting the line at all. And it doesn't put any fear into you. Like if I'm talking for mine, if I'm seeing Siebold running back, I'm much more dreading that than I am a Nick Meaney or someone coming into the line taking the first or second hit up. So the second tackle, and obviously it's been a pretty big issue in rugby league circles at the moment, and it's the crusher tackle. And there's probably two parts to this, which is one, the penalties. I know Sid's lowering the crusher tackle. We did touch on this a couple of weeks ago. And the other thing is Bellamy accusing players of milking. Now, I'll reserve judgment first. I know Sid's fired up with this one, so I'm going to hand it straight to him. What's your thoughts, Sid? Let the world know, please.
Look, like you said, there are a number of factors here. The crusher, I'd say around 80% of them are accidents. Who would, in their right mind, really, grab someone by their neck and then drop their body weight on it? Especially knowing what happened to Alex McKinnon, you know, a real possibility of putting someone in a wheelchair, right? Firstly, the other facet, as we know, and you and I predicted weeks ago, the guys backing into tackles, whether it's just to squirm and go down, or stupidly, what I think is stupidly, to try and get in a weird position to earn that penalty as soon as they feel the slightest thing, or you know, just to offload, so reversing into the line to be able to offload. But when they back in, then they lower sort of their height, like they're falling. That's when you're in danger territory. So the ownership's got to be, somebody's got to say something about the attackers doing that. You know, why would just for a penalty risk, you know, being a quadriplegic, you know, risk serious injury? It's just baffling. It's mind-boggling. But yeah, I don't think they're on purpose. You know, and it comes back to, this is the last thing I'll say on the matter. It really comes back to the over-sanitizing of the game. A big hit's a penalty. Shoulder charges are gone. You know, I have an opinion on that. I think they should have left it, allowed it with the onus on the defender. Say, look, you're allowed a shoulder charge, but if you hit a head, it's an automatic one match, like, you know, like a red card in soccer, you know, something like that. It seems that, and you pointed this out, you used the line, it's can defence win a ruck or do something to turn the game. The old days, a big hit, it turns the game. You know, the crowd gets pumped, he gets up slowly, and you know, the guys at mark are feeling good about himself. Now, the recipient of that hit just lies down, has a little curl up, and then penalty. It must have been a penalty because the guy got up a little bit slowly. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Dane, what's your thoughts? Are we going to have a healthy debate here, or you're on the same side?
Look, I think they're definitely. There's no doubt about it, but I do feel I feel there's a lot of milking that's happening from some of these attacking players. You know, they get up, they grab the back of their neck, they stay down for a little bit, and then the whistle. Like, I mean, if I was a player and they're going about, the refs are going about it the way that they are, I'd try and milk it too, because you're there to win games, get your team down the field, and you try and score some points. But I do think I agree with Sid that some of the ownership needs to go on the attacking players as well, because they can put themselves into that situation where, what are the defenders trying to do? They're trying to tackle them, get them on the ground, and stop them from running. There's going to be downward pressure, and I don't think they're on purpose going to try and smash down on your neck or anything like that. But look, I think it's we're going backwards and forwards with a bit of chat today, and I think it's getting a bit soft, rugby league. There's penalties for everything, and they're getting this out of the game, getting that out of the game, and there's still injuries that are occurring. And I don't think there's any place for crusher tackle, but I think they need to look at how these crusher tackles are occurring as to whether people get suspensions, or was it the attacker that sort of put himself in that situation to cause it. So that's my thought.
I think the NRL is getting themselves they're backing themselves into a corner at the moment with the new judiciary putting an automatic. It's almost a 2-week suspension now as soon as you get guilty of it, unless you've got a good record, which we'll leave that to another day, which I don't think that should play a part of it, but that's just me. The fact that I thought it was funny, Bellamy calling players out for milking for a start, where he's been the orchestrator for a lot of these tackles I've seen in the past, and he knows the tricks of the trade. He's a smart man. He was trying to take the onus off his team losing the other night, and he done that straight away. But the crusher for mine, it's a dangerous situation. Like, obviously, if you're hacking someone's neck, it's not good. Now, players are obviously going to milk that to a certain extent as soon as they can get a penalty and get marched down the field, because at the end of the day, they need to get into that 20 sort of red zone to be able to make a good play of what's going to happen. So for mine, I think, yes, there's milking happening, but the game is putting themselves in the corner. They shouldn't have changed. I don't think it should be a 200 points for a crusher. I think it's, as me and Sid spoke about the other week, when people are backing into it, what else can they do? That automatic positioning is just going to happen naturally. So if you're going to start penalising guys 2 games for that, I think the game is doing the wrong thing. But it also works into the third tackle, which is obviously watching the games and all these rules coming in. It's a simple question, and Sid sort of started to touch on it. So I'll go to Dane first with it. But is there any way a defence can actually win a set of rugby league at the moment? Because if I'm looking at it, I'm actually thinking there's nothing anymore. There's shoulder charges out of the way. There's no biff, so no one can stamp their authority on what's going to happen. So you've got little guys niggling big guys getting away with it. If an opposition comes in backwards and they get the crusher tackle, there's chicken wings these days, there's this and that. There's obviously people are starting to get penalised now for coming in, hitting in the hip as well. Like, if a guy's still running, where else are you going to try and hit him? You got to get him down to the ground. So, Dane, can defence win a set at the moment?
Oh, look, I don't think it's possible. I mean, if you even look back to when, like, forwards and front rows, second rows, whatever, when they used to run in, I think the defence could win off the back of that, but that's out of the game now as well. And I don't think there's any way that defence can win a set unless they throw a forward pass, or they run around the back of a player or something like that, which that does happen from time to time as well. But I honestly don't. I think it's hard for the defence, and you see a lot of repeat sets, and you see a lot of penalties inside the 10 and inside the 20. So I think it's pretty hard for the
100%. And Sid, you obviously touched on a bit, Sid, but anything else you wanted to add to the defence sort of issue? I know that back in your day you were a defensive master, so give us a couple of your pointers.
Yeah, I copped a few hips and elbows on this head, as you can tell.
I couldn't tell.
That's the makeup. Well, look. This is my theory, right? I watch, when everything was normal. Remember, once upon a time, I used to watch all the New South Wales Cup games, and I used to watch English Super League a lot of the time. Get up at 5 a.m. on a Saturday and watch the games. And I noticed something about it was there would an attacking team would run. There'd be very straight runners. They get tackled, and the refs almost are calling held as the tackle, as the guy's getting his arms around, and then he'll dump and then go and then go. And every set, for especially the good teams, will go 50, 60 meters minimum. Dump, 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 dump. Then they'll try something on the last, or put on a bomb, or spread it, or go down the blind, or put it in a grubber or whatever, right? And then the other team would have a shot at it. And I started to think, there's no wrestling in this game because they're making it so fast. And there's a reason I'm telling you this. And I feel like they're trying to evolve the NRL to this type of game, and NFL type, where basically Team A has bang, 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 bang. Your reward for not dropping the ball is you have a shot at them to score. If you don't score, then they're going to have a shot too. And that's why you're seeing a lot of momentum penalties as well, and repeat sets on the line. The 6 more and 6 more. Like, there's nothing more frustrating than on your line, you're proud of your team. They just defended, and they're about to tap. They're about to face a kick or whatever, or it's about to be a handover, and the rest decide it's a penalty to the attacking team. Just momentum calls, and then the attacking team, all they do, like you said, Dane, they just have to hold the ball. If they throw a full pass, all right, nice. But as long as they hold the ball, they'll try and score and convert it to 6, and then the other team will have a shot. I feel like they're trying to evolve the game to just to minimise the wrestling, which is fine, minimising the wrestling, but it's taking a lot of the authenticity of the rugby league away. The tough aspect.
But they're trying to make it the TV game, which they think all fans want to watch the fancy 50 points to 30 scoreline. But to be honest, most of us traditional rugby leagues, we love those 8-6 and 10-0 and those sorts of scorelines. Like, just for instance, over the weekend, obviously people are starting to talk about premiership favourites and stuff, and everyone keeps talking about Parramatta's attack, but at the end of the day, we've got the best defence. And the last I've heard, unless you can score a try against someone, all they need to do is score 1 point, and we seem to be able to do that at the moment. So, there's, as I said earlier, it doesn't seem like the defence, the game's putting too much into it. It seems to be fully attack, and if that's the way they want to go down, then fair enough. But I think they need to look at ways that the defence can actually gain something into it, because you need to have those big men who can put hits on, like the Sonny Bills, and that's still in the game. And at the moment, they're not getting any benefits for pulling off a big hit. So obviously fourth tackle, and it's the gift that keeps on giving in rugby league circles, which is the Brisbane Broncos. And honestly, I think they've kept a lot of media personnel in jobs this year, because it seemed to wake up each morning and something happens. And this time we want to talk about Siebold, which at the time of us setting this up, he hasn't been sacked, but it's now been confirmed he has been. So we were going to discuss the possible payout, which is obviously happening now, and he's basically walking out the door, or already has, and leaving the message to the boys tomorrow. What's our thoughts on it? I think that it's a massive slap in the face for the Broncos as an organisation and as a club. For a club so high up, that has a one-team town, it's got sponsors deluxe, it's got pretty much a cream of a crop of talent, to offer a coach 5 years and to only have him see out 2 years after they knocked back probably the guy who's going to now go in and replace him in Walters. It's lunacy. I don't understand it. I don't know. Each more I think about it, I don't know. Sid, I know we've had plenty of discussions about this, so I might go to Dane first to get a fresh look on the Broncos. And Dane, what are your thoughts on the payout situation? We won't try and go too deep with the whole club, but we'll try to focus on the coach here. And what's your thoughts on how this has been handled?
Yeah, look, I think it's just an absolute joke. It's the Broncos stock at the moment. Just to have a quick look at the roster, they have a really good roster. They've got a lot of depth. They've got some real talent in there. You got Siebold, who's You know, I think he came off Coach of the Year before, you know, coming and joining the Broncos on that 5-year deal. You know, I mean, no one really knows what goes on internally, but I don't think the players are playing for each other, and I don't think they're playing for the coach. Someone fresh has to go in there and just, you know, do a massive clean-up and, you know, get the players playing for each other first, and then they'll play for the coach. And, you know, I don't know if you see any disrespect from the players towards Siebold, but look, he has to go. And as that 20% owner sort of stated, which it's all over the papers and all in the media and everything else, is, you know, he's like a cancer that needs to be cut out. In regards to the payout, obviously they've offered him $1 million, and then there's reports that, you know, it's probably going to be closer to 1.4, in between 1.4 and 1.6.
He takes it and runs.
Yeah, look, 100%. So it'll be nutted out apparently within the next 24 hours. And I think it's going to be about 1.4 because I heard that he was on 700 a season. So they'll pay him 2 years and, yeah, take a hike kind of thing. But, you know, I want to see the Broncos doing good things. I'm not a big fan of the Broncos, never really liked the club. But, yeah, but it has to happen. So, and it has. So,
yeah, exactly. And I think in terms of if you're looking at a Siebold side and get Sid's view on from a Siebold side, I guess, but you've been in scrutiny, you've started to drop the family line that it's affecting the family. If I'm getting any kind of payout, I'm grabbing that. I'm walking straight out the door. I'm hiding, going away for 6 months. I'm getting away from the circus that it's been, and I'm taking my family. We're going to go chill out somewhere. Then we're going to come back and see what happens. I don't think if I was him, I wouldn't be trying to get into a footy circle for quite some time. But Sid, put yourself in Siebold's position, and you've just been asked to, you know your time's up, but you've just been given 1.4 for the leave. What are you saying? What are you doing?
It's very hard for me to say because I wouldn't be that terrible of a coach. I wonder the position they have. He talked his way into that job. You know, there are reports that Kevin Walters had a handshake agreement from the Honourable, being sarcastic, Paul White, and then turned around pretty much the next day and signed Siebold. Siebold, yeah, talked his way into that gig. They got rid of the 6-time premiership winning coach for this guy. Moved heaven and earth, got him early too, so it's actually 6 years, it wasn't 5, because the 5-year deal hadn't started yet, and they got him in.
Yeah.
It's look, but I'm avoiding your question clearly because I can't put my head in that situation. It was just it's a disaster. Tail between the legs. If the world was normal, he'd probably go live in the Bahamas for 6 months. He's certainly got the cabbage for it. But Mr. Attitude, see you later. I don't think we'll see him again on the coaching front, for the record.
I don't think so either. I think it'll be quite some time, and it's a sort of where to now for the Broncos. I feel like any coach that's going in, he's not going in now. He'll let the season go out. He'll be stupid to go in now. It's a death trap, really. Let the season go out, and as Dane touched on, the talent that roster has. This time last year, people were poaching that team to win the comp this year, and they are avoiding the spoon by a whisker because the Dogs can't seem to put 80 minutes together. But anyway, we'll go on to fifth tackle, and I want to touch on a guy that obviously is wearing your proud red V at the moment, Sid. So we'll get your comments on what I'm about to say, but I'll lead off a little bit with this and say Ben Hunt. Now, the reason I say this is because he mentioned it again this week in a interview after the game, and after once again playing pretty well at hooker and guiding the team around the park, he's still pressing his claims as a halfback. Now, I'm sorry, but I don't support the Dragons, so I say this as a neutral, but the Dragons have been much better to watch and have been playing much better footy since he's gone to hooker. I think he's well past the halfback stage. I don't think he's a halfback. I think he's a hooker, yet he's adamant, he continually says it, that he's a halfback. Now, Sid, give me answers. Why is he doing this for a starter? Because it can't be money-wise, because hookers and halves are on pretty much the same coin. They're just as important as each other these days. So you see the top echelon of hookers and the top echelon of halfbacks, they're on pretty much the same sort of money. So why is he adamant on the fact that he's a half?
Well, I can't tell you what's going on in his head, but my guess would be that he sees himself as a halfback quite simply. But something that I will add is if I don't know if you ever coached kids. I think you had told me that you've coached kids before, and you watch them do something. Say you were coaching a dummy half to pass to the first receiver, right? And then he didn't do it how you would like it. You would go in his place and then you pass and then you'd show him. The point of me saying that is he's gone to hooker, provided this quality service, knows when to run, knows when to kick, knows when to just pass straight off the ground, and that's like he's basically saying that's the type of hooker I want, right? Because McInnes is a quality hooker, but he's a very different hooker. He gets up and he engages the line and then he dumps. Some first receivers like to pass off the ground. So now Hunt's thinking, okay, I've showed you how to do it. Put me back there and pass off the bloody ground or whatever it is. Just say, for example, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I could think of. He sees himself as a halfback, and there's a certain type of hooker that he likes. He's demonstrated it, and he's given 8 out of 10 performances every time he plays that position.
Yeah.
But he's a halfback. He's a halfback. Some players will say, "I'll play anywhere for the team,"
Yeah.
But some players leave teams because they don't want to play centre. They want to play fullback, like Latrell or Adokar. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
The heart wants what it wants, as they say.
I just find it's gobsmacking for mine, and I want to get quickly Dane's thoughts on it, but I'm getting a quick message about my bloody Zoom meeting. It was about giving me 9 minutes to go, so we're going to move on to 6. Sorry, Dane, but I know we want to talk about this, so I want to get to this topic, which is 6 tackle, and it's the last player, so we're going to put the bomb up. And obviously, we're going to go back. We haven't filmed for a couple of weeks, and we're going to talk about the bite. The Kevin Proctor bite. I want to talk about the punishment. I want to talk about the bite. Was it a bite? I'll start off. I don't think it was a bite. I don't. For mine, it's hard to, when I've watched it, I don't see the clamp down. And the thing for mine is that Johnson's attacking his head the whole time, and he's got himself in a bit of a situation here, Johnson, because he didn't make a complaint, but he said several times to the ref, he bit me. And you can clearly hear him saying that, which has put him straight into a corner. He's then come out trying to say afterwards, he didn't do it, blah, blah, blah. I don't think he did it. I think he's caught, say, teeth or something, and he's thought the bite has sort of happened because you don't see the clamp down factor. Dane, do you think it was a bite, and do you agree with the 4 weeks? Because I don't think it should have been 4 weeks either.
I don't think he should have been suspended at all, to be honest.
I don't think me either.
I don't think it was a bite. I didn't see a big bump on his arm, and Sean Johnson was around his head, and he was actually pushing into his mouth the whole time. And I know that Proctor came back and said, I've got bad sinuses. I can't breathe properly through my nose. So I'm trying to breathe out of my mouth. So that's why I'm, trying to get him off me. But I didn't bite down. I was just pushing back against his arm, which is probably where the red marks came from. And, everyone's got their own opinion on it. That's my opinion. I don't think you got 4 weeks or something, was it?
It was 4 weeks. And to be honest, going off the rules and what you've just said, it should have been a penalty to the Titans because Johnson was all over his head. And we've been told you can't do that anymore. It's gone to the other way. So I don't know.
Yeah, in my opinion, it wasn't. I don't think it was a bite. Definitely a pretty hot topic. But I think our refs intervene as well. I think it should have just been a straight out penalty, whichever way the ref saw it on the field, and then just move on. And Sean Johnson blew it and then backed out of it. And, it is where it is. So I think it just needs to be out.
That's the other thing, though. Johnson never made the official complaint. Now, according to the rule book, a player needs to make the official complaint for it to be a sin bin or a send-off or whatever it's going to be. Now, the bunker got into play with that. It wasn't even the ref. It was the bunker that told the ref he's got to go here. And I don't think that's where the bunker should be getting involved. But Sid, are you against us, or you going for a chomp down, or where are you going with this?
Mate, it's unanimous. It definitely wasn't a bite. It wasn't a traditional bite. There was no aggro. There was no vigor. You know, it wasn't like that, like James Graham to Billy Slater. You know, even Robbie Farah copped one a few years back in the World Cup against an Englishman, and the guy got off, mind you. He got off. He didn't get suspended, but Robbie said that I felt him go like that. You know, really go for it. As it's just look. But when I first saw it, having said all that, and we've discussed this before. If you remember, we were talking about what happened with Latrell Mitchell and Josh Reynolds. I said to you, they'll both get suspended because it looks ugly. That's it.
Yeah.
NRL, all they care about is how it looks. That, like that, with the arm there, that was enough for them. It's not a good look. All they're worried about is the mums stopping their kids from playing footy, pulling their boys out and putting them in soccer and AFL. You know, the game with knock-ons, the terrible sport. Yeah. You know, and so see what I'm saying? So as soon as we see that, they're going to get suspended. You know, even if there was nothing in it. It's all about what it looks like.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, go, Dave.
They want that sort of stuff out of the game. They want to have the best image that they can, because you got to look at the juniors as well. So, you know, the easiest way is you penalise it hard, and it's not come back in the game again.
And the funny thing is, when you say that, they've punished the wrong player. Then, if I think about it that way, Proctor wasn't the one holding Sean Johnson's arm up to his mouth. Johnson was putting his arm up against his mouth. He was doing the grubby thing. It wasn't Proctor. Exactly. So if anyone was getting a suspension, it should have been Johnson out of all of it, which he shouldn't have anyway, because he didn't really do anything. But at the end of the day, he instigated that. So, but before we get a timeout, we've got a couple of minutes to quickly. I was going to get a bold prediction from each of you for obviously this week, and I'll let you start off, Dane. And what's your prediction for this week? Whether it's a team winning or maybe in someone else in the media, maybe another coach goes down. Who knows? What do you got?
I haven't even looked at the team lineups yet. I know that I'll probably still be on top of you in our footy tipping comp, Joel.
You got me by one.
Look, I'd like to see the Roosters play a good game. Obviously, being a Roosters supporter, but in all honesty, I haven't looked at the lineups. But I'm always very interested to see how the Eels, Storm, Roosters, and Panthers play. So, and I think a team to watch at the moment, in all honesty, is the Dragons. You know, I know they talk about that Ben Hunt being a hooker and whatnot, but I think St. George I think they're going to be a bit of a surprise package coming into the back end of this season. So yeah, I think St. George is a team to watch. I'm really liking watching their footy at the moment, to be honest.
Well, all right. Well, on that note, Sid's probably got a massive smile on his face. What's yours, Sid?
Well, man, I feel bad because I was going to say that Broncos might have the see you later, ta-ta, Mr. Attitude coach bounce back and
wow.
Maybe the Roosters a shake, maybe.
So you're not saying a win, you're just saying giving them a shake.
Yeah, I think they'll go out to a big lead, and then Roosters will run them down because they're just too professional. But I think they'll make a good account of themselves to make a statement to Mr. Attitude. That's my prediction, my bold prediction. And just one other, I'm a bit worried about Panthers. They're due for a loss, and I just found out today that Coruscant's out for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I'm a big fan of the importance of the dummy half, and I don't think they have another dummy half, do they? You know, I don't think they have a stand.
I'm annoyed with that, mate, more so on a super coach point of view as well. So thanks for going out again, mate. Far out. My one, I'm actually going to after watching this team last week and how they've been playing and watching the team they're up against, I'm predicting a Warriors win to shake up the 8 and go against the Knights. I think the Warriors are going to beat the Knights this weekend. Pearce is taking over too much and he's not playing the proper style, and he's basically put Ponga out of the game once again. And for mine, the Knights are dangerous once he's touching the ball 2-3 times a set, and he's just not doing it once again because Mr. Step Up and bomb it up in the air a few times has stepped in. So my prediction is Warriors to get up and start to cause a stir with the top 8. I think Knights and Sharks are looking a little bit wobbly. People are saying it's a given the top 8, but let's look out for a couple of weeks. I did a ladder predictor yesterday, and I think there's a few surprises coming up. So, but look, guys, I've loved the three. I've loved the three-way. It's a pleasure to do one. Broken the virginity on that. So, but but thanks, Danos, for jumping on, and Sid, it's good to have you back and get this video up. And please leave us your comments to see how you like the three-way, and we'll go again next week. So peace, guys, and go the Mighty Eels. We're coming for you.